Welcome to the Resilient Retail Game Plan, a podcast for anyone wanting to start, grow or scale a profitable creative product business with me, Catherine Eardley. The Resilient Retail Game Plan is a podcast dedicated to one thing, breaking down the concepts and tools that I've gathered from 20 years in the retail industry and showing you how you can use them in your business. This is the real nuts and bolts of running a successful product business, broken down in an easy, accessible way. This is not a podcast about learning how to make your business look good. It's the tools and techniques that will make you and your business feel good. Confidently plan, launch and manage your products, and feel in control of your sales numbers and cash flow to help you build a resilient retail business. Welcome to the Resilient Retail Game Plan. Hi, I'm your host, Catherine Eardley, as well as the founder of the Resilient Retail Club. That is my membership group and mastermind for product businesses. You can find out more at resilientretailclub.com. And today we are going to be talking all about how to make more money in your business. This is a topic that I get asked about fairly frequently. It comes up in the membership group. People DM me on Instagram. And it's something that is often on people's minds, especially at this time of year, because this time of year is one of those pinch points. Because if you have already bought your Christmas stock, for example, or placed those orders, then that will be weighing heavily on your mind. And we are yet to have those Christmas sales. August, September are really traditional pinch points in the retail industry. We used to have to do an exercise in some of the retailers that I worked in, which was called the 4 Ps, which was push payments past peak, which was basically working with our suppliers to try and work out payment terms to extend them as much as possible to ease this particular pinch point. So if you are feeling a bit squeezed for cash flow at this time of year, just know that you're not alone. This is extremely common. And one of the things that I get asked is, what do I do if I need money quickly in the business? How would you go about doing that? Now, obviously, if it was an ideal world, we'd all have perfectly mapped out cash flow forecasts. It's certainly something that I work with a lot of one-to-one clients on. Things like working out how to avoid these pinch points, looking at your stock on an ongoing basis. But as we all know, these things are hard to manage at times. Life gets very busy and you may end up in a situation where you suddenly faced with an unexpected bill, and how do you actually go about paying it? So what I'm going to run through is basically my suggestions is that if I were a product-based business, what would I do in this particular situation where we suddenly just need to get some money through the door and we need to pay a bill, ease up some cash flow, purchase some more stock, who knows what it might be. And that's what we're going to run through in today's episode. So the first thing that I would do if I was a product business that needed sales fast, I would start by looking at my stock and I would divide it effectively into 3 piles. Interestingly, if you are a Shopify user and you're using specifically not the basic Shopify package, but the next one up, a Shopify for small business, then I would recommend that you go into your reporting section and you have a look at something called an ABC report, because it's absolutely brilliant and it will basically do this exercise for you. If you don't have the ABC report, then what I suggest that you do is you go through your stock, whether that's, hopefully you've got stock records that you can pull up. And if you don't, at least just go through it physically. Go walk around your unit, walk around your studio. And effectively what you want to do is you want to divvy up everything that you've got into 3 different categories. The first one is your prime stock. Your prime stock are things that you are really proud of. They're best sellers. They're stock that you know full well that you're going to be selling. You're going to be able to sell potentially at full price, but you're definitely going to be able to sell it to your customers in the run up to Christmas. This stock, to the best of your ability, you don't really want to mess with this stuff because this is your carry forward stock. The second pile, and incidentally, if you're in Shopify and you're using that ABC report, then that is your A stock. Your second category is the stock that is kind of okay. You don't mind too much if you don't have it, you're happy to sell through it. It's not like your prime stock. Maybe you've got a bit too much of it. Maybe you've been thinking maybe you'll discontinue it at some point. It's not really part of your go forward strategy. So this is your second tier stock, or your B stock, if you like. It's fine. It's not urgent to get rid of it, but to be honest, it's not your prime stock. And then the third pile or category is pretty much everything else. So it's the ends of lines. It's where you've got one size left if you sell multi-sized items. It's where you've got one thing that doesn't really fit in with what you've got. Maybe it's stock that you've bought previously that doesn't really fit in with the current direction of the business. It could also be samples. It could be seconds, things that are slightly damaged. And basically, it's the stock that you just don't really feel as proud of or as invested in. Or maybe you do, but it's kind of sold through and it's just very broken and fragmented. Or maybe it's great stock, but there's maybe a small mark or something like that that means that you feel uncomfortable at selling it at full price. So this stock here really is the one that you want to start off by targeting. And when it comes to this stock, if you are in need of cash injection into your business, then I would recommend that you hit this pretty hard and you do a kind of sale where you are really pushing it to your customers and you're trying to clear as much as possible. So that means don't be shy about it. It's not even necessarily a 20%, 30% off situation. We're probably talking about 50% off for at least your worst offenders. And then there's a couple of different things. You could actually do multiple events from this stock. Samples and second sale can be really useful and helpful for getting stock sold, especially if you've got a somewhat decent Instagram audience, because people do tend to like a sample or second sale on Instagram stories, for example, where you put something up and then if people comment, then they can get it and you send them a PayPal link, for example. You could even have a sample sale event if you have got the space to do it in your own studio. That would be a really great option. Or you could see if you could find a venue. Maybe if you have a retailer that you work with, you could use it for samples or second sale, or even see if you can attend a local market or something like that, but make it really clear that this is going to be samples and seconds. I know that there are some online events such as Super Second Saturday, but obviously they don't run that frequently and they can be quite competitive to take part in actually. But what you want to do is basically that first kind of round of things that just effectively almost doesn't matter what you sell this for because it's just sitting around. It's not stock that you would even really necessarily sell normally, especially if it's a second, because especially online, it can be harder to sell seconds. The key here is that you really market it to your customers. With any of these events, anything that we're going to talk about here, when you're talking about clearing stock, you want it to feel special, you want it to feel interesting, exciting, and you want it to generate a bit of a buzz and basically get people to start thinking about, right, okay, what do I want to do here in terms of I've got to be there in order to get it. And in case you're worrying that having a samples or second sale is damaging to your brand, I would say that there are a lot of designer brands that have samples and seconds. Think about outlet shopping, for example. Those outlets are full of designer brands. There is definitely not a perception of it being distressed or low quality if you have a samples and second sale. In fact, if anything, it can really open you up to people who like your brand but maybe haven't purchased from you because they're on a tight budget. It can bring in a different kind of customer. But the key thing is you have to shout about it. What I often see is that people will do some kind of clearance event, but then they'll feel really awkward about it or uncomfortable. And so they don't shout about it. I would say that if you're doing a samples and second sale, you've got to market the heck out of it, just like you would a new product launch. And the other thing is you can maybe sneak some other things in that it could be listed as samples and seconds, but then if you've got some products, for example, that are ends of lines, you could pop those in as well. The customer coming doesn't really care too much, but it's a really great way to just have a standalone event and to actually get yourself cleared out some stock, whether that's online, in person, however you do it. Make your discounts deep, shout about it, and then you will be able to clear some unwanted stock, because this is the other thing that people just don't really appreciate about excess stock is that not only does it eat into your cash flow, but it's also really damaging for your mindset, really. It can be really depressing and irritating to be constantly surrounded by stock that you no longer feel proud of or that is just sitting there and cluttering things up. And it takes up physical space as well, not to mention the fact that you've got to keep tidying around it or moving it to a different place. Some people even end up building extra fixtures or fittings to fit in all of this extra stock. So make sure you're not falling into that trap of just hanging on to stock that you could be clearing through an event like this. So that's pretty straightforward. The other thing that you could experiment with is, again, depending on just if you want to get rid of it, is something like going onto eBay. You don't have to have an eBay account, which is listed with the same name as your business if you don't want people to know it's you. Lots and lots of big retailers have got eBay clearance accounts that they use to dispose of excess stock or end of line stock, damaged stock, things like that. You could just put up a big bundle of your product at a super low price and see if you can get some traction that way. Also, things like blind bags or blind boxes, people really like those. They can be another way of really promoting it and saying, I'm going to pull together lots of boxes, mystery boxes, and then sell them to certain people, and then all different kinds of different things you can do. Again, if it's all about the excitement of that limited availability, people not knowing if they're going to be able to get the stock they want or not, then that actually adds excitement and can be really engaging for your customer as opposed to being negative. Obviously, you don't want to be doing a sample and second sale every week, but if you are in need of some cash and you haven't done one in a while, or you've got stock that you know that you could pull together and make a really compelling offer, then I would go for it and then market it hard. The second thing to think about if you want cash quickly is thinking about that sort of B-level stock, the stock that's not quite bad enough for the sample sales. But can you run an offer, a straight offer off that? So it's very targeted. It's not money off everything. It could be seasonal offers, but are there things that you could hit maybe 25, 30%? And again, put together a compelling offer. Now, obviously, if you're doing samples and second sale, you want to space this out so you're not running multiple offers all at once, but you could, for example, have a samples and second sale as a standalone event, but equally be offering individual money off. But I would very much make it specific items. You could include the samples and second type products in there if they're on your website, but I would even hit those harder. So you could even have some kind of event where it's up to 50% off selected lines, for example, where your real bottom tier stock is 50% off, and the stuff that you're not proud of, but you don't think is your prime stock, that could be more like 20, 30% off. So you could play around with things like that, selected offers. And just, again, if you're going to do something like that, you have to get out there and promote it. And also, again, if you ran selected offers, well, to be honest, some businesses do selected offers pretty frequently. I mean, as I've said many times before, I'm not always the biggest fan of a discount, but when it comes to freeing up stock, if it's targeted, I think it's much less brand damaging than those blanket offers off everything. So have a think about if there are items that you could pull together for a compelling selected seasonal offers in order to sell through them. And then the final thing that I would do if I was trying to generate money quickly in my business is I would reach out individually, one-on-one, to my best customers. And I would engage them either with some product suggestions based on new in, or maybe some kind of offer tailored directly for them. So there is a statistic which I love, which is that 40% of your sales will be coming from your top 8% of customers. So your best customers represent a hugely disproportionate amount of your sales. And the other thing that I love to say is that nobody is more likely to buy from you than someone who has already bought from you. So if you are trying to generate money quickly, then you want to be thinking about the people who support your business, because they'll be the easiest sell. You could be putting a lot of time and effort and energy into reaching out to cold people, trying to build your cold audience. But if you need money fast, you've got to go for those warm and hot leads. The hottest of all hot leads, the people most likely to buy from you, are going to be your best customers. So reach out to them. Sit down with a list of your top 10, top 20, write them an individual email or message them on Instagram if you've got that kind of relationship. Either tell them, hey, I know you've bought this, I think you might love these. You could even tell them about the offer that you're running. If you're running a clearance type offer, you could invite them for a preview evening. You could equally offer them a discount and just say, look, just want to say how much I appreciate all of your support. Here's 15% off and free shipping code, something like that. Based on what you've bought before, I think you might love X, Y, and Z, and just see what happens. Because again, the people that are there that support you, if you reach out to them and offer them something, it doesn't have to be huge, doesn't have to be a massive discount, but you engage with them and basically kind of white glove, reach out to them, offer them something tailored to them, then they are the people most likely to respond. So that is what I would do if I was in need of money quickly. I would start off by going through my stock and dividing it into that 3 sections. The prime stock that I don't really want to touch and don't really want to do too much with because I want to be selling that going forward. I would go through what is okay, but I've got too much of it, or I'm not so proud of it. I wouldn't be too bothered if I sold through it because I'm not sure I'd restock it. And then the third would be the ends of lines, the samples, the seconds, all of that kind of thing. And also to say, if you're a maker, have a look at what you've got sitting around components wise, for example. Let's say you make jewelry. Do you have a box of beads that you could maybe make up into items that you could then sell that you know have been sitting around and you haven't done anything with? And they may not represent that much money in terms of money invested into the business because perhaps the beads themselves weren't super expensive. But if you think about the money you could generate by making those up, and even if you sold them, if you did like a $5 Friday deal or something like that, this is the thing. Most of the time, what I talk about is maximizing your profit, especially for your full price sales. But when it comes to the fact that you just need money, especially if you've got too much stock sitting around, then that is the time to not be precious, to not try and have the perfect profit margin. It's not about that. This is about clearing out what's clogging up your stock numbers, what is eating into your cash flow, all of those things. That is what you were doing. And that is what you need to address with these promotions. So there you have it. That's my plan for you if you are in need of cash fast. Let me know what you thought of today's episode. Have you ever tried any of these things? I have to say the number one mistake that I see people make is they make this decision, but because they're feeling kind of a bit blah about the fact that they are in need of cash, then they don't tend to go out there and really promote their samples and second sale, or they don't promote their offers as much because they're feeling kind of bad about the fact that they're in this situation anyway. But I feel like that's the biggest mistake because it can be really engaging for your customers. It can be really positive for your customers, and think about these discounts as being a reward for your best customers, and hopefully that will change your mindset. So why not come over onto Instagram at Resilient Retail Club? Let me know what you thought of today's episode. And of course, if you can rate and review the podcast in iTunes, that makes such a difference, as well as rating the podcast within the Spotify app. And of course, if you subscribe or follow, you'll be the first to know about every new episode. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, then I invite you to check out resilientretailclub.com. The Resilient Retail Club is the membership for anyone wanting to start, grow, or scale a profitable product business. No more trawling Google trying to find the answers to your questions, or wading through general business advice that speaks mainly to service-based businesses. Whether you're still at the idea stage or you've been going for a while but want to get more focused and organised when it comes to your business, the Resilient Retail Club is the place for you. With a library of courses tailored to creative product businesses, several live sessions a month, and a supportive and active community, the Resilient Retail Club is the perfect membership to help you hit your goals faster. Check it out at resilientretailclub.com.